Hello and welcome to ReallyBigHat. My name is Jared, and this is D&D Build's Baldur's Gate 3 style. Today's build is going to be the Ranger Rogue, a powerful jack-of-all-trades character that has a lot of skills, a lot of combat utility, and is just really a well-rounded character to explore with. And these are Act 1 builds, so I will be going from levels 1 to 6 in order to cover where you can expect to be at the end of Act 1 of Baldur's Gate 3. But without any further ado, let's go ahead and hop over to the game and get to the build. So, here we are at the respec screen at level 1, and we can start to go over the build. So we are going to be starting out our career as a ranger. There are a number of reasons for that. Mainly, it's for armor and weapon proficiencies. This way we get simple and martial weapons, light, medium armor, and shields, and we can take up to heavy armor with one of our choices here, which I'll get to in a moment. And actually, I'll get to it right now. We're going to go ahead and pick up Ranger Knight. This gives us skill proficiency in history and armor proficiency with heavy armor. That means we can equip anything we find in the game, all the way from light to heavy, anything in between. Now, there are some other options here that are worth considering. Bounty Hunter gives you proficiency in investigation, and anything you hit with Ensnaring Strike has disadvantage on their saving throw. So, if that's a spell that you want to use regularly, this is definitely a feature to consider taking. The rest of them are basically okay at best, bordering on subpar to bad. Getting proficiency in Arcana is fine, but Protection from Evil and Good is situational at best. True Strike is not very good. And proficiency in Religion is fine. And Sacred Flame is a okay cantrip. I mean, if you want to have a cantrip as a ranger, then there you go. You got one. But I would definitely recommend either Ranger Knight or Bounty Hunter here. Moving on to our Natural Explorer feature, I've picked up Urban Tracker to get proficiency in Sleight of Hand, because that's a very useful skill, especially if you don't have a dedicated rogue in the party. You are basically the rogue with this build. There's going to be a little bit of rogue right at the end, and until then, you're still going to be functioning basically like a rogue. The other really good one is Beast Tamer. You can cast Find Familiar without expending a spell slot, so you can always just pop out a familiar. That's very useful if you want to play a more summoner play style and, rock a familiar most times. They're useful for a lot of different things, so having one is definitely a very good thing. But I'm going with the Sleight of Hand proficiency to make this a more well-rounded, self-sufficient character. There are also resistances to cold, fire, and poison to choose from. These aren't bad. I would probably go with fire if you wanted to pick one of these, because that's the most common damage type of the three that I've seen. But definitely, this could be more of a roleplay backstory kind of a decision. If you want your ranger to have been from the swamps, then go ahead and take, Wanderer for that, and rock and roll with that. But moving right along to our ability scores, I've brought Strength up to 12, Dexterity to 16, Constitution to 14, left Intelligence at 8, brought Wisdom up to 14, and Charisma up to 12. We also have proficiencies in Athletics, Sleight of Hand, Stealth, History, Nature, Perception, Survival, and Intimidation. So that's not bad at all. That's, 8 skills? 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. Yeah, 8 skills. One of those is from being a human, so that's a little above the curve. But having a bunch of skill proficiencies is rather useful in a playthrough. You can be the skill monkey of the group with this character rather easily. But that covers just about everything here for level 1, so let's head on to level 2. So, here we are at Ranger level 2. First and foremost, right out of the gate, we get spell slots. We get 2 level 1 spell slots, and we learn 2 spells. Those spells that I'm going to recommend are Hunter's Mark and Longstrider. There are some other good ones here. Cure Wounds if you want to be a backup healer, or if your party lacks a paladin or a cleric, maybe the primary healer. That and Goodberry would be your best friends if you're going to have to be the healer of the party. That is something you can do. You can spec into that. Ensnaring Strike is good, especially if you took the feature that powers it up. But we did not, so I'm not going to recommend it here. Fog Cloud is nice for cover. It rewards tactical gameplay, very much so. Enhanced Leap is a lot of fun. Triples your jumping distance, opens up a lot of avenues for you to explore in the overworld, and it really helps your melee combat by leaps and bounds. No pun intended. Or was it? But I am going to be recommending Hunter's Mark and Longstrider. Longstrider is also a ritual, so that means outside of combat, you do not have to use a spell slot to cast it, and it increases a creature's movement speed by 10 feet. That means it can be cast on yourself and your party members, all for free. So as long as you're in the party and you're rocking Longstrider, everybody in the party should have that 10 feet extra movement speed, and that helps a lot in combat, especially on builds that have extra movement speed already and like to be in melee combat like monks and barbarians. It also helps fighters a lot, paladins. I mean, it'll help anybody, even ranged combatants, just getting into better positions for their ranged strikes. It's impossible to overstate how useful extra movement speed is in combat, and the fact that you can just pop this on every day for free is amazing. Then we come to Hunter's Mark. This is your in-combat spell. It is a bonus action, so it doesn't interrupt too much of your attacking, unless you're dual wielding, and then it'll interrupt the first turn of dual wielding. But after that, you're free to set sail. And it just does 1d6 damage whenever you hit a creature with a weapon attack. It lasts until a long rest, and you can reapply it once the target that you've already marked dies. So you can keep that going as long as you can keep your concentration up. Moving on to fighting styles, all of them are good. There is really no wrong choice here. It mainly just depends on your playstyle. If you're going to focus on ranged combat, take archery. If you're going to sword and board with like a rapier or a longsword and a shield, take dueling. If you just want the overall bulk increase that armor class provides, just a little extra defense, take defense. And if you want to wield weapons in both hands and get in melee, 2-weapon fighting. This is the one I'm going to be taking for this build because it's a lot of fun, especially on rangers, especially on ranger rogues. I can't really quantify why, but I just really enjoy to dual wield with these types of characters. Anyway, that'll about do it for level 2, so let's move on to level 3. At level 3, we get to choose our subclass, and just like the fighting styles, you really can't go wrong here. Beastmaster gives you the option to summon an animal companion to help you. That is really helpful. Extra bodies in combat are always useful. It swings the action economy in your favor. So having that extra bit of meat on the battlefield, always good. Gloomstalkers are your rogue-like rangers. These are the most rogue your ranger can be without multiclassing into rogue. And it pairs really well with the multiclass into rogue as well. You get Dread Ambusher, so you get +3 to initiative. And on the first turn of combat, your movement speed increases by 10 feet, and you can make an additional attack that deals 1d8 damage. So that's a lot right there. You also get 80 feet of dark vision, which, if you're a race without dark vision, like a human or a Githyanki or what have you, dark vision, there it is, right there, Gloomstalker. You can hide as a bonus action. That does kind of overlap with Rogue's past level 2, but it's useful here and now. And you can turn yourself invisible as an action if you're in darkness. So that's pretty cool. You also get the disguise self spell, so can't really go wrong with Gloomstalker. However, even though Gloomstalker is probably the best choice for this build, I'm actually going to go Hunter. I've always had a soft spot for Hunter Rangers, so I'm going to be rocking them for this build. But at this level, we do also get another spell. There are any number of good ones to choose from. I'm going to go with Enhanced Leap, because we are kind of focused on melee combat, and if you can cast this before combat initiates, then you've got that 10 turns of enhanced jump distance, and that'll help you Mario your way across the battlefield and just jump into position wherever you need to be, for melee or ranged combat. It helps melee more than it helps ranged, by and large, but, it's definitely a good spell either way. And then with our subclass, we do get the option of Hunter's Prey. I am going to go with Colossus Slayer. That gives us, once a turn, our weapon attacks deal an extra 1d8 damage if the target is below its hit point maximum. So anything that's already taken damage, we're just doing a little bit of extra damage to once a turn. Horde Breaker isn't bad. You can target 2 creatures standing close to each other and attack them both with the same action, so that's pretty cool. It helps you get out some extra attacks when you're surrounded, which can happen quite often in this game, so that's not to be overlooked. But I am going to go with Colossus Slayer, just for that little bit of extra damage. Like I said, Gloomstalker is probably better than that, because they also get that on their first turn, plus it's part of an extra attack, which has its own damage. But like I said, I just like Hunters. I've got a soft spot for them. I've played them before. I like them. So I'm going to rep them for this video. But I do want to state very clearly, if you're min-maxing, go for a Gloomstalker. But anyway, moving on to level 4. We get a feat. We could take an ability improvement, bump up our dex, our constitution, our wisdom, all good options. But I'm actually going to take the dual wielder feat. We get a +1 bonus to armor class while we're wielding a melee weapon in each hand. And we can use 2-weapon fighting even if the weapons we're wielding aren't light. But we still can't dual wield heavy weapons. So no dual wielding greatswords, unfortunately. As cool as that would be. But we can dual wield rapiers or long swords, depending if you're going with a dex or a strength-based build, and getting that extra bonus to armor class and the larger damage die of larger weapons. Really good feat if you're a dual wielder. So, read it. It's right there in the name. Moving on to level 5, we get extra attack. We unlock level 2 spell slots. We learn a spell here. There are a number of really good second level spells here. Lesser Restoration. Once again, if you're the party cleric, you can take Lesser Restoration here and help out a little bit more medically, as a healer. I'm going to suggest Spike Growth. It's a really interesting AoE that hurts enemies that move through it for every 5 feet that they move through. It's also difficult terrain, so your movement is halved in it. And the damage can really add up if you place this well. If you put this in a choke point, funnel your enemies into it, and they have to come through that to get to you, it's especially helpful if they don't have ranged weapons or they can't teleport or fly. So that's something you'll have to figure out in the moment, is whether or not it's useful right here, right now. But it is a very useful spell. It rewards tactical gameplay. So I am going to recommend it here. There are some other good ones. Bark Skin just makes your armor class 16. You can cast this on any creature. So you could put this on your wizard and they would just get up to 16 AC. So that's not bad. There are better spells, though, so I wouldn't really recommend that. Dark Vision, you can just give somebody Dark Vision. This is especially helpful if like me, you didn't take Gloomstalker, and like me, you're a race without dark vision, like a human. So, it's something to consider. Pass Without Trace is an amazing stealth spell, getting plus 10 bonus to your stealth checks. I mean, it's a plus 10 bonus. What more do I need to say? That's amazing. And it does last until a long rest, I believe. It doesn't... Yep, till a long rest. It does take your concentration, but... Yep. So, with that, that's all of our Ranger levels. So let's go ahead and move on to level 6, and the final level of this build. And we are actually going to multi-class here into Rogue, as promised in the title and in the lead-up. So here is our 1 Rogue level to make us a Ranger Rogue. We get proficiency in 1 skill and expertise in 2. I'm actually going to take expertise in sleight of hand and perception. We'll keep the acrobatics, that's fine. Although if you wanted to be a little more charismatic, you could come down here and take persuasion. That's helpful, especially for your main character. Like if this is your main character's build, you wind up with more persuasion checks than not when you're controlling yourself. So I'll go ahead and put that on for now, just to show that you can. And yeah, we also do get sneak attack. We do have the option now to apply a sneak attack to our weapon damage once per turn. So whenever we're making our weapon attacks with finesse weapons in melee or with ranged weapons, we can add a d6 to it. We have to have advantage against the target, or there has to be one of our allies within 5 feet of it. There are a number of ways to get both of those to occur, so it's usually pretty simple to get sneak attack to activate, as long as you've got a good party set up and you're positioning properly. But that will do it for the build, so let's move on to some demonstrations. We are going to go pick on those Githyanki once more, so let's head over to that. So, here we are, once again, right outside the Githyanki encounter, and I just wanted to briefly go over my equipment here, just so you can see what I'm running. These builds don't revolve around equipment, I just equip what I have that's good for the build, and I don't have, like, everything you could by this point. I've got a healthy amount, but, you know, there's... I didn't go through the trouble of getting, like, every piece of valuable gear that you could possibly have. So I'm just running with what you can expect to find in a normal playthrough. That's my intention, anyway. Anyway, I'm rocking the Haste Helm here. At the start of combat, you gain momentum for 3 turns. Momentum is going to be a theme here. Breastplate +1. It's just good medium armor. The AC bonus from our decks is limited to +2. So, you know, it could be a little bit better, but, you know, that +1 basically makes up for it. It's the best armor that I've got. It's better than anything heavy I have so far. But you can, of course, wear heavy armor with this build with the Ranger Knight feature. Gloves of the Growling Underdog. This gives you advantage on melee attack rolls while surrounded by 2 or more foes. This also activates sneak attack, so that is something to keep in mind. These are really good gloves for a rogue. They don't count as armor either, so you could even put them on like a monk if you want, which is interesting. We also have the Boots of Striding. Whenever we cast a spell that requires concentration, like, say, Hunter's Mark, we gain momentum for 1 turn, and while we're concentrating, we can't get knocked prone or be moved against our will. Got a couple of rings, Ring of Poison Resistance, Resistance to Poison Damage, just flat, useful bonus. The Githyanki do use a bit of poison, so it actually applies to this fight, among several others, so pretty good ring. And we also have the Spurred Band. Whenever we start a turn with 50% hit points or less, we gain momentum for a turn. There's more momentum. We also have the Rupturing Blade here. It's a pretty cool, unique rapier. And then we have the Speedy Reply here, which is a scimitar. And it has the property, when the wielder hits an enemy with this weapon, they gain momentum for 2 turns. Hey, more momentum. And last but not least, we have the Titan String Bow. It does additional damage equal to our strength modifier. On this character, that's only a +1, but hey, +1 is better than nothing. You know, it's a pretty decent ranged weapon, so that's why I've got it. I also do want to shout out, I've got the Gloves of Thievery over here, and that's how I would run it. If you've got, like, both of these, I would run these for combat, and then just equip the Gloves of Thievery whenever you're about to pick a lock or pick a pocket, and you'll get advantage on your sleight of hand check. So, you know, that's some inventory management that you have to remember to do, but it's definitely the way to do things. Anyway, other than that, you know, we've got our standard adventuring crew here, the first 3 party members you meet. I've got our buffs up. I've got Longstrider that I've got on everybody. Shadowheart has aid. Gale has mage armor, you know, the works. And so let's go ahead and go pick on those Githyanki. Alright, so here we go. And they've got a couple of guys up before even Astarion, which is interesting. Usually, at least one of my guys goes first, but hey, you know, sometimes the dice roll like that. Oh, and Astarion gets knocked prone. Woof, that's gonna hurt. That's gonna make him have trouble getting into melee, even with Longstrider on. Yeah. Well, that sucks. We do have our sneak attack available because of Assassinate, so we can hit anybody that hasn't gone yet with a sneak attack. So we'll try that on this guy. There you go. Not bad at all. We could cunning action dash. I think what we're going to do is actually take some high ground here with Astarion and just have him be a ranged combatant for this. Would have been nice to get him into melee, maybe get a bite in on somebody, but, you know, you take what you're given. Ooh. Really bringing the hurt on Shadowheart there. But let's see what we can do to assuage that. Let's try and get some pressure in on her. So we will go ahead and start concentrating on our Hunter's Mark. We'll come in for a sneak attack, see if we can't land that. Actually, I'm just going to set these up to ask when we hit. That way we don't waste it if we miss. Okay, there we go. Yeah, that's a nice tip for sneak attack. Instead of just clicking the button and committing to it, you can have the reaction system ask you if you want to use it when it's applicable. So, you know, fun fact, nice little tip. Okay, so let's go ahead and just pop Spirit Guardians on. That'll hurt her a decent amount. And we'll Healing Word ourselves at 2nd level. Just try and keep Shadowheart alive. Okay, Gale. Do your usual thing. Go up here and hide. Throw a fireball, see how many people you can hit with it. Ooh, it looks like we can get all 3 of them. They all saved, but that's... damage is damage. Let's counterspell that. Let's not even let them try and hold person on us. We've got pretty good saves, especially for Wisdom, but you still don't want to risk it if you don't have to, you know? Wow, that hurt. Okay, so maybe we will have Astarion come down and melee her. We'll do the same thing here with him. Set that up to just ask. And we're going to come down. We're actually going to start with one of these. Then we are going to make our main hand attack. Add our sneak attack. That drops her. Good, good, good. And we don't have enough resources to keep going, so we used our bonus. But Tav can reapply his Hunter's Mark on this one. And then come in swinging. Add a sneak attack there. Good damage. We do miss the second one, unfortunately. That definitely would have killed them. But we can remedy that situation in the following way. Yep. There we go. Spirit Guardians. Spirit Guardians. Couldn't get all three, but like I said, you take what you are given. Let's try and just Guiding Bolt him. There we go. Solid. And we'll Healing Word ourselves again, just in case.
Allow me to demonstrate.
Gale. Can once again Fireball. Just do Gale things. And that'll wrap up that encounter. There you have it. That is the Ranger Rogue in combat. Got off some good sneak attacks. Didn't even take a hit with our Tav, so I mean he didn't really get targeted that much, except for that whole person that we counterspelled. But even if we did get targeted, we have 18 AC, so we're not the easiest thing in the world to hit. And we've, like I said, we've got pretty good saving throws. Yeah, we got a +2 to Wisdom, 5 to Strength and Dex, +2 to Con. So that's not bad. That's not bad either. And yeah, we've still got Hunter's Mark for the next combat encounter we might face in a day. And that will just about do it. That was another successful showing against the Githyanki. And I think I will go ahead and call this a video here. So I will go ahead and just say I will see you guys next time. Later.